That's what Neil said. Yes, I am. Neil asked me that question. You've been doing this longer than I have.
Was there anybody between you?
No, it's interesting because mostly I see most of them. It's usually 4 or 5 years. So I don't know that much.
You know, though, the year has had some unique times. There was a time where there was no chair changes since 8 years. And there was the early 80s, I guess.
Yeah, they usually now.
And that was really very good because they worked together with Dave Bragg
Yes.
and the Sonic Jim.
Some of those guys were very good.
I just think they can accomplish that.
If you got the right people. We went through some leadership changes. Oh my God. I mean, it was a ship, rocky ocean.
We see your name in Madison Council. They're saying
skip out on your exams, so take good care
Oh,
of
they
it.
got in July.
There you go.
But tell him hi, we enjoy it.
I will. I will definitely do that. Very good.
Thank you for that music. On behalf of the family, can you hear me? The back's that working? We welcome you to this memorial service for Lynda P. Faldmo. We express our appreciation to Stark's Funeral Home for their professional and caring service and for their beautiful facilities here. We gather here today to mourn the loss of our dear Lynda, but also to celebrate her wonderful life that she shared with so many family and friends. It's been aptly said that mourning is the deepest expression of pure love, and also that the only way we can take sorrow out of death would be to take love out of life. The hurt and sorrow that we all feel, I hope this doesn't start, is very real and very different for each of us. Different for a daughter, different for a son and a husband, companion, a grandson and granddaughter, a sister, colleagues, friends. But we're also here, as I said, to celebrate a wonderful life. Lynda's life obviously isn't measured by her 73 years, which I feel free to mention because we were both 49ers. We share a birth year. Her life is measured, of course, by her loving service to so many, including, which I remember well, her care and service of her parents in their last years. And of course, her love and devotion to her kids. I guess I can still call Lara and Rich kids. She absolutely adored them. And of course, her perfect grandkids, in her eyes at least, and I haven't heard or seen anything to the contrary. Anyway, we will have an opportunity to celebrate her wonderful life, her varied accomplishments professionally, and her many professional achievements, her personal friendships, her love for Dwayne. We'll be pleased to celebrate some of these events as we proceed through the program. And we will follow the program with one exception. We'll begin with the eulogy presented by Brenna Gilman, who's Dwayne's daughter. Then we'll be pleased to hear from Dr. Neil Kokenauer, longtime friend and in many ways mentor of Lynda. And then Lynda's granddaughter, Abra, will sing Climb Every Mountain. Following Abra, we'll get to hear from Dr. Thomas Miller, currently the medical director at University Hospital. And we were just talking currently and for quite a while, ever since Dr. Kokenauer was. In that position, they both worked very closely with Lynda. After Dr. Miller, we'll have another musical number, a favorite, Amazing Grace, by Ty Lund, with, I believe, on the violin. And then the program says Michelle Pell, who many of you know is Lynda's later discovered sister. And she actually can't be here. I understand she's in Korea. But this poem over here that is nicely displayed was written by Michelle, and we invite you all to take a look at it. So after Ty's musical number, we'll hear from Amber Reichert, a colleague at the university. Brenna?
Lynda P. Faldmo died on May 26, 2022, after a brief illness while receiving quality care from the doctors and staff at the University of Utah Hospital, the very place where she spent her career serving and caring for patients, doctors, and staff for many years. Her final days were spent surrounded by her loving family, including her husband, Dwayne H. Gilman, her children, Richard Faldmo and Lara Katzman, and her granddaughter, Abra Katzman. Lynda was born March 23, 1949, and was raised in Salt Lake City, Utah, by her adoring parents, Clarence L. Peterson and Barbara B. Peterson. Her parents provided a loving household throughout her childhood and supported in all of her challenges and achievements. Throughout Lynda's life, she took every chance possible to express the love she held for her son and daughter, as well as her two grandchildren, Noah and Abra. She put great value into teaching her family by example through a message of love and service. For her son, Rich, Lynda gave unconditional support and counsel through all of his endeavors with great loving care. For her daughter, Lara, Lynda saw her become an excellent mother to her own children, and she deeply admired the spirit of service her daughter continues to give. Lynda loved watching her grandchildren grow into highly successful, intelligent, and poised young adults, and her life was enriched by the close relationship she had with them. Later in her life, Lynda developed a close relationship with her sister, Michelle Pell, a high school teacher who lives in South Korea. Lynda shared her last 10 years of her life, of her remarkable life, with her husband, Dwayne, and she gave him the happiest years of his life. Within their loving relationship, they supported each other in every way imaginable. Lynda offered valuable guidance and counsel to her husband, both professionally and personally. Their companionship can only be described as a gift from God, in which they shared everything together, from the challenges to the celebrations, from the courtroom to the golf course. Lynda proudly earned a bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Utah in 1982. Her nursing career at the U Hospital progressed all the way from the emergency room to the position of chief nurse in the Intermountain Burn Center. It was during this time that Lynda offered her gift of service. The excellent care that she and her team gave to patients led to the recognition that the U Burn Center was the finest in the region. When Lynda was 42 years old, she made a brave decision to further her own education and used her life savings and retirement savings to begin attending law school. Upon completion of her legal education at the University of Utah in 1994, she returned to serving the U Hospital in the position as Director of Risk Management. While in that position, she worked to serve the doctors, and all other medical staff by responding to and managing all malpractice claims for the entire hospital and medical school. During this time, she worked tirelessly to assess, negotiate, and determine the most fair and just outcomes possible for both patients and doctors, as well as all medical staff involved. During the 20 years she served in this position, the great care she gave to her work resulted in no increases in malpractice insurance costs to the University Hospital, despite that there were significant increases in patient care during the same time period. As was her service as a registered nurse, Lynda performed the highest quality work possible in the position of risk management. She is survived by her loving husband, Dwayne H. Gilman, her son, Richard Lynn Faldmo, and his partner, Tammy Wright, her daughter and son-in-law, Lara and Ron Katzman, her grandchildren, Noah and Abra Katzman, and her half-sister, Michelle H. Pell. Following today's program celebrating Lynda's life of love and service, please stay for a celebration of that life. All who were touched by Lynda's love are welcome to join and share their stories.
Thank you for coming today to celebrate Lynda Faldmo's life. It is an honor to be asked to say a few words at this special gathering to remember her. I knew Lynda in two contexts, as a colleague and as a friend. I would like to spend a little time on each of these. My introduction to Lynda was in 1994 when, as the new medical director of the University of Utah Hospital, I interviewed her for the newly created position of Director of Risk Management. Lynda was uniquely qualified for this position. She had recently graduated from the University of Utah Law School, and prior to that had been nurse manager of the burn unit at the University Hospital. In addition to building a department from scratch, Lynda's task was to facilitate a change in the philosophy of risk management. Previously, the initial response to adverse outcomes was to take a defensive position. We wanted to develop a culture of open disclosure when dealing with adverse outcomes. I can honestly say that this would never have been accomplished without Lynda. She had the respect and trust of the physicians and nurses she had worked with on the burn unit. And this respect and trust rapidly spread throughout the rest of the medical staff. Without this, the culture change would not have occurred. This different approach to risk management resulted in some very difficult discussions with patients, their families, and sometimes physicians and nurses. Lynda's understanding and compassion were on display during these tense times. She was able to establish instant rapport with patients and their families. They trusted her. She was an extremely important participant in these discussions. As it happened, Lynda and I were both starting in positions that had not existed previously. This fact created a bond between us as we tried to accomplish our goals. Lynda was an excellent leader. She recruited a skilled, committed staff and worked very well with physicians, nurses, administrators, and outside legal counsel. We worked together for 12 years until I retired in 2006. During the time we worked together, we became close friends. I want to digress a bit and talk about friendship and its importance to our lives. Euripides said, "Life has no blessing like a prudent friend." As we proceed through life, we need to make time for our family, for our job, ourselves, and I would submit for our friends. Lynda really knew how to build and maintain a friendship. And friendship is a bit like a house. It needs maintenance. After I moved to Tucson, our friendship strengthened. I would often stay with Lynda when I returned to Salt Lake City. I watched with great pleasure as Lynda's friendship with Dwayne evolved. I was happy for them and knew how important he was to her. I have talked about Lynda's accomplishments as Director of Risk Management at the University Hospital and her superb capacity for friendship. I have not discussed her role as mother, grandmother, or wife. I will leave that to others, although I will say that I know she was a very caring mother and grandmother and committed and loving wife. Thomas Jefferson said, "I find friendship to be like wine, raw when young, ripened with age." That describes our friendship. I had a lunch date with Lynda on Monday, May 23rd. It didn't happen. I will miss you, Lynda, but am so thankful for you part of being my life.
I appreciate the honor of speaking with you about Lynda's long and wonderful career at the University of Utah. Thanks to Brenna and Neil for those memories, and I'll pick up where you left off. It was shortly after I started as a wet behind the ears chief medical officer in 2007 that Lynda made herself available to help me with difficult situations. Patients upset with their care, families traumatized by unintended outcomes, physicians or nurses experiencing psychological trauma, and several other emotionally fraught encounters where hospital leaders were asked to intervene and provide solace and corrective action where possible. Lynda called one day and asked if I would like to join her to console a family who had lost a daughter unexpectedly while under our care. It was in that first interview that I learned of Lynda's humility, her humor, honesty, and humanity. She was a natural in making others feel heard, especially those experiencing anger, sadness, frustration, confusion, and desolation from loss and pain. She could put them at ease due to her genuine concern. After this first meeting, we became a twosome, speaking with patients and families who felt abandoned or left without answers. We also interacted on behalf of harried providers and nurses who were being harassed or threatened to the point that they could not or would not provide care. Well, I want to tell you about a few of these interviews or interventions, but I realize I probably loosely violate patient confidentiality. I'm holding back with the exception of one case. A mother whose son was in the burn unit wanted to take him home where she could apply her own remedies. It was the classic struggle for control and the fear of relinquishing authority to those you don't know but must trust to do the right thing. In medicine, we don't stand on the outside looking in all the time. We many times assume trust should be granted, not earned. We don't see how a mother or father or husband or wife see only frightening chaos where we see choreographed life-saving diagnosis in action. Think about it. How many medical personnel does a patient experience during a hospital admission? There are day nurses, night nurses, nurse aides, pharmacists, nutritionists, physical therapists, respiratory therapists, medical students, residents, fellows, and consultants. Who's on first? Who's on second? On third? And who's really in charge? Lynda had an innate sense of what each person feared or regretted and was able to directly acknowledge, then disarm the facade so we could move on. In this particular situation, Lynda led the mother to the importance of trusting her team and alleviating her guilt over her son's accident. The burn team was able to complete the treatment and send the boy home at the right time. Now, that's not to say Lynda couldn't set boundaries. She was really good at saying no in the most polite manner possible. and it generally stuck. No meant no, but other options were always offered and explored. When doctors or nurses were traumatized by the threat of legal action or blame, Lynda was there for some psychic handholding. She let them know that errors and mishaps are occasionally part of the life-saving work we do. And I don't think Lynda ever took any time off. She would call me on a Sunday or Friday night. Dr. Miller, I just wanted to let you know about a situation. I think it would be a good idea to meet with the family. She was fully committed to her profession as a nurse first and a lawyer second. I also want to give voice to other peers and employees that provided some remembrances. Scott Smith of Legal Counsel writes, Lynda could easily disarm a tense situation. I remember meeting with her in the risk management office with a physician who was very upset. I was trying to talk to the physician, but then Lynda walked around the table and gave the physician a hug. Does that sound familiar? After that, the meeting was much less tense. And she always asked about my daughter and showed real interest. I ran into her at the outpatient pharmacy a year or two ago, and it was like meeting my aunt. She ran up to me and gave me a hug. She made me feel special. Scott pleasantly remembered that she did mix up her metaphors from time to time, like saying the cow has left the station or the train has left the barn. He got a kick out of that. Dr. Bernadette Kyrley wrote, I remember one of my first interactions with Lynda. It was early in my career and involved an unexpected bad patient outcome. After discussing the case, she asked me, how are you doing? These situations can be difficult for physicians emotionally. I recall feeling surprised and deeply grateful that she cared so much about me and all the physicians in the organization in addition to the patients we serve. She will be missed, but I'm grateful that her legacy of caring lives on in the risk management department. The group continues to exemplify this deep commitment to caring and compassion for our patients and for the providers. This from Dr. Jane Byrne. We were in a meeting about a case. I had torn my hamstring and was on crutches, carrying my computer and a bunch of stuff. It was pouring rain. Lynda refused to let me go out to get my car. She was afraid that I would fall. She took my keys, ran out to the garage in her backless high heels, and drove my car up to the receiving dock to pick me up. And from Carrie Sullivan, who works in risk management, Carrie says she started her career at the university in 1989, when Lynda was the nurse manager in the burn unit. My first encounter with Lynda was when I floated to the burn unit for an evening shift. And during the shift, a couple of staff pranksters had dunked one of the surgical residents in the water tank and injured them. I love that. I kind of miss those days. At the end of the shift, all of us were instructed to gather in a conference room. We complied and waited there, terrified of what was to happen. Lynda arrived and promptly gave us a severe dressing down. And from that, I learned two things about Lynda that night. One, she was a leader who never shied away from managing a tough situation. And two, once the situation was managed, she moved on. By 2009, Carrie says, I knew I wanted to work for Lynda in risk management. Luckily, I got my wish. I saw firsthand the department she had built from scratch, her thoughtful approach, the warm, collegial relationship she had fostered, and her commitment to providing excellent care to our patients. I also saw how she managed even the smallest details, including evidence. For one claim, there was a meal tray being preserved in the office freezer for years because a patient had alleged something had been adulterated. Carrie goes on. Lynda was a creature of habit. I finally remembered that every day she liked her hot, venti Starbucks served with a straw with 2 pumps of flavoring, not 5, the usual 5. She was a friend to all the baristas, and they lit up when she appeared and were already working on her order before she got to the counter in the evening. In the evening, it was then cola Slurpees. Lynda, farewell, farewell, our friend. Thank you for shining a light on our lives. We are better for it.
I'm going to modify the order here just slightly. Abra, we'll ask you to perform that wonderful musical number at this time. Then we'll hear from Amber, and then we'll have Ty Hurd with his musical number following Amber.
Climb every mountain, search high and low, follow every byway, every path you know. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream, a dream that will need all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream. A dream that will need all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream.
That was beautiful. So, first, I just want to note that there are so many wonderful things that I could say about Lynda. And I realize that what I've prepared will only scratch the surface. So, for those of you who don't know me, which includes most of you, my name is Amber Reichert, and I work in risk management at University of Utah Health. And I have been there since Lynda was director there. So, as a boss, Lynda was brilliant. She was one of the main things that drew me to that department in the first place. And we all learned so much just by watching her. Even after she retired, our work has constantly been influenced by the question, what would Lynda do? Recently, a colleague said to me, she raised a generation of risk managers. And I could not have said it better. I know that those who worked with her in the burn unit during her tenure there as nurse manager would say similar things about her contributions there. She really let us into her life. We were always hearing the latest news about Lara, Rich, Abra, and Noah. She beamed with pride whenever she spoke of them and their accomplishments and showed us their videos and photos. It was obvious how much joy she took in them and their accomplishments. She took an interest in us, too. She always knew what was happening in our lives, our triumphs and our sorrows, our struggles. She never forgot a birthday, and every card and every note of praise was always signed XO, XO, XO. Lynda was always saying quirky, random things. She once approached a couple of us and asked if either of us had any A&W root beer flavored licorice. It was oddly specific. Another time, Naomi had brought in kinetic sand for the reception area. Lynda came in and played with it for a moment, then said, "This is just perpetual sand, isn't it? It's nice. Nobody pees in it." Then she casually turned and walked into her office. One of my favorites was a time we were in a meeting and she left to take a call. She returned with her little notebook and started to tell us about the call. And then she interrupted herself and said, "I can't read this. I wrote this down because I wanted you guys to think I was smart. But now I can't read what I've written." It was such a funny comment, but it was also so humble to suggest that she felt the need to impress us when we were always so aware of how wise she was. A few years after she retired, I remember her telling me she was going to give up her credentials. From a practical standpoint, she said she wasn't going to be using them anymore. But she said, "I just worked so hard for them." That really struck me. As accomplished as she was, she never forgot what got her there. I feel like she had a talent for recognizing possibility and potential in everyone she knew. She found it in herself, and she wanted it for all of us too. She was happy to provide all the support and encouragement she could. I believe she took satisfaction in watching those around her grow and knowing she had a hand in it. Lynda was wicked smart. She was poised and fearless. She knew how to strategize, but she also understood the power of compassion and connection. Providers and staff often compared her to a mother figure or a therapist. I think one even called her a rabbi. Employees knew her office as a sort of sanctuary in times of crisis. And she certainly talked me off a ledge a time or two. She was always ready with a hug for anyone who needed it. When things went wrong, Lynda always knew exactly what to do. She kept a cool head and got to work, but the first order of business was to take care of her people. It seemed like she knew everyone. At Starbucks, they all knew her. I don't actually know her coffee order, even though I often picked one up for her while I was there. All I had to say was, "It's for Lynda," and they knew exactly what to make. I often thought Lynda must have a million friends, but somehow she knew how to make every individual feel special. Even after her retirement, we loved spending time with her and Dwayne. I love how good they were together. I guess when two accomplished, confident, and kind people get together, they just make each other even better. I think Lynda made us all better. I am proud to have known her. I am proud to have called her a friend. XOXOXO.
Thank you, Ty. That's a favorite of mine, and I especially like the story of the man who wrote it. And as with many other names, his name escapes me right now, but his story is wonderful. If you don't know it, you should look it up and read it. Thanks to all of you who have participated. I don't know why I should be surprised, but you have just described to the finest detail the Lynda I know. I thought I was going to have something new to say, and that's exactly the Lynda I know. It's been fun to reminisce. If there can be fun in these times, I've had it. It's been fun to think back of all the times and experiences with Lynda. It's been dangerous too. Last Saturday, Dwayne called me Friday morning, I think, and Saturday I was driving to Weber County Fairgrounds, just north of Ogden, also known as the Golden Spike Arena up there. So I'm on the freeway, pulling a horse trailer, driving along, and I get thinking about Lynda, and my mind gets going and going, and I want to say I looked up, but suddenly I became aware of my surroundings, and I thought, oh, this looks more like Plain City and Willard Bay. And I had totally missed my exit, had no memory whatsoever of going through Ogden. So I am driving home after this, so you might want to wait around. But for that period of time, I was immersed in memories of Lynda. Like Neil, I didn't realize this, but I first met Lynda in an interview. Christine St. Andre asked me to interview the applicants for Director of Risk Management. And so I interviewed them. It wasn't my decision to make, but I got to interview. And from that very formal meeting sprung a nearly 20-year professional relationship, pretty action-packed with lots of fun and stress and other things. And more importantly, a deep personal friendship. Her professional activities in the risk management office have been described so well, I won't repeat all of that. I'll just say that together we experienced about every imaginable medical incident, outcome, tragedy, accusation and allegation that's possible. Some of them were sad, some were humorous, some were totally absurd. But I watched Lynda, as has been described, empathize with and support distraught care providers. She was a tremendous counselor. I watched her let her own staff grow and develop and become professionals themselves. Reference was made to that office, and it's been said that the real measure of a leader is how well their organization does after they're gone. And I think that that's a tribute to Lynda also. It really, as has been described, was developed as a unique culture. I watched Lynda give legal advice to personnel at the university, something she was not supposed to do for some strange reason, but did very well. I watched her have absolute compassion for patients. I saw her be tough and fair. And I saw her get frustrated. More important to me now than all of these professional experiences we had is the personal friendship that developed. As you can tell, and probably all of you here know, Lynda excelled at personal relationships and friendship, something I needed to learn from her. In fact, Amber, as you were talking, I thought, you know, I don't feel as special anymore. Kind of thought I was. I loved, though, hearing about her kids and grandkids. As I said, she absolutely adored the grandkids. And I thought I was going to lose her when Ron and Lara kidnapped the grandkids and moved back east. That was a traumatic time. But we continued to hear about them and Rich, and I felt like I actually knew all these people who I hadn't even met at the time and probably met once since. But not only that, Lynda was constantly asking about my family, as has been alluded to also. There would be times when years after an event, she would remember events in my kids' lives and ask about how they were doing. She knew their birthdays better than I do. Which probably isn't saying much, but she did. So it's a mixed time, isn't it, that we mourn her loss, but how can we not celebrate a life like hers? We have so much to remember and gain from what she shared with us. And hopefully by supporting and sharing these memories with each other, we can temper the loss a little bit and perhaps enrich the celebration that we feel. We appreciate all those who have participated. Lynda would have approved, probably does approve, of all that's been said, the wonderful music. I think, speaking for all of us, Lynda, we love you, we miss you, we won't forget you. We'll conclude now, and we'll take a short break to rearrange this room, and we'll have some refreshments and have an opportunity to mingle and share some memories and war stories and so forth about Lynda. Thank you for coming, and please stay to participate in events as soon as we get the room rearranged. Thank you.